We ought to have hats modeled on our heads. They were about him, here and there, with heads still bowed in their crimson halters, waiting for it to melt in their stomachs. Something like those mazals. It's that sort of bread. My highlighter. It's that sort of bread. Unleavened shrew bread. Look at them. Now I bet it makes them feel happy. Lollipop. It does. Yes, the bread of angels, it's called. There's a big idea behind it. Kind of kingdom of God is within you feel. First communicants. Hokey pokey penny a lump. Then feel all like one family party. Same in the theater. All in the same swim. They do. I'm sure of that. Not so lonely. In our confraternity. Then come out a bit spree-ish. Let off steam. Thing is, if you really believe in it, Lourdes cure, waters of oblivion, and the knock apparition, statues bleeding. Old fellow, asleep near the confession box, hence those snores, blind faith. Safe in the arms of kingdom come, lulls all pain, wake this time next year. He saw the priest stow the communion cup away, well in, and kneel an instant before it, showing a large gray boot sole from under the lace affair he had on. Suppose he lost the pin of his, he wouldn't know what to do. What to do to? Bald spot behind. Letters on his back, INRI? No, IHS. Molly told me one time I asked her. I have sinned, or no? I have suffered, it is. And the other one? Iron nails ran in. Meet one Sunday after the rosary. Do not deny my request. Turn up with a veil and black dog. Dusk and light behind her. A black bag. Dusk and light behind her. She might be here with a ribbon round her neck and do the other thing all the same on the sly. Their character. That fellow that turned Queen's evidence on the Invincibles used to receive the... Carey was his name. Carey was his name, the communion every morning. This very church. Peter Carey. No, Peter Claver I'm thinking of. Dennis Carey. And just imagine that. Wife and 6 children at home. And plotting that murder all the time. Those craw-thumpers. Now that's a good name for them. There's always something shifty looking about them. They're not straight men of business either. Oh no, she's not here. The flower. No. By the way, did I tear up that envelope? Yes, under the bridge. The priest was rinsing out the chalice. Then he tossed off the dregs smartly. Wine. Makes it more aristocratic than, for example, if he drank what they are used to, Guinness's Porter or some temperance between Wheatley's Dublin Hop Bitters or Cantrell or Cochrane's Ginger Ale aromatic. He always puts aromatic parentheses. Doesn't give them any of it. Show wine. Only the other. Cold comfort. Pious fraud, but quite right. Otherwise, they'd have one old boozer worse than another coming along, cadging for a drink. Queer, the whole atmosphere of the quite right, perfectly right, that is. Mr. Bloom looked back towards the choir. Not going to be any music. Pity. Who has the organ here, I wonder? Old Glynn, he knew how to make that instrument talk. The vibrato. £50 a year, they say he had in Gardiner Street. Molly was in fine voice that day. The Stabat Mater of Rossini. Father Bernard Vaughan's sermon first. Christ or Pilate? Christ, but don't keep us all night over it. Music they wanted. Foot drills stopped. Could hear a pin drop. I told her to pitch her voice against the corner. I could feel the thrill in the air. The people looking up. Quis est homo? Some of that old sacred music is splendid. Mercadante. 7 last words. Mozart's 12th Mass. The Gloria in that. Those old popes were keen on music, on art and statues and pictures of all kinds. Palestrina, for example, too. They had a gay old time while it lasted. Healthy, too, chanting, regular hours, then brew liquors, Benedictine, green chartreuse, still. Having eunuchs in their choir that was becoming it a bit thick. What kind of voice is it? Must be curious to hear after their own strong basses. Connoisseurs. Suppose they wouldn't feel anything after. Kind of a placid. No worry. Fall into flesh, don't they? Gluttons. Tall, long legs. Who knows? Enoch. One way out of it. Excuse me. He saw the priest bend down and kiss the altar, and then face about and bless all the people. All crossed themselves and stood up. Mr. Bloom glanced about him and then stood up, looking over the risen heads. Stand up at the gospel, of course. Then all settled down on their knees again, and he sat back quietly in his bench. The priest came down from the altar, holding the thing out from him, and he and the mass boy answered each other in Latin. Then the priest knelt down and began to read off a card. O God, our refuge and our strength. Mr. Bloom put his face forward to catch the words. English. Throw them the bone. I remember slightly. How long since your last Mass? Gloria, an Immaculate Virgin Joseph, her spouse. Peter and Paul. More interesting if you understood what it was all about. Wonderful organization, certainly. Goes like clockwork. Confession. Everyone wants to. Then I will tell you all. Penance. Punish me, please. Great weapon in their hands. More than doctor or solicitor. Women dying, too. And I... shh. And did you... ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta? And why did you? Look down at her ring to find an excuse. Whispering gallery walls have ears. Husband learned to his surprise. God's little joke. Then out she comes. Repentant skin deep. Lovely shame. Pray at an altar. Hail Mary and Holy Mary. Flowers, incense, candles melting. Hide her blushes. Salvation Army, blatant imitation. Reformed prostitute will address the meeting. How I found the Lord. Square-headed chaps, those must be en route in Rome. They work the whole show. And don't they rake in the money too? Bequests also. To the PP, for the time being in his absolute discretion. Masses for the repose of my soul, to be said publicly with open doors. Monasteries and convents. The priest in the Fermanagh will Fermanagh will case in the witness box. No browbeating him. Hold on a second. Got my reading glasses. Masses for the repose of my soul to be said publicly with open doors. Monasteries and convents. The priest in the Fermanagh will case in the witness box. No browbeating him. He had his answer pat for everything. Liberty and exaltation of our Holy Mother, the Church. The doctors of the Church. They mapped out the whole theology of it. The priest prayed, Blessed Michael, Archangel, defend us in the hour of conflict. Be our safeguard against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God restrain him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, thrust Satan down to hell, and with him those other wicked spirits who wander through the world for the ruin of souls. Do you like my Christmas tree? The priest and the mass boy stood up and walked off, all over. The women remained behind, Thanksgiving. Better be shoving along. Brother Buzz, come round with the plate, perhaps. Pay your Easter duty. He stood up. Hello. Were those two buttons of my waistcoat open all the time? Women enjoy it. Annoyed if you don't. Why didn't you tell me before? Never tell you. But excuse, miss, there's just a fluff. Or their skirt behind, placket unhooked, glimpses of the moon, still like you a better untidy. Good job it wasn't farther south. He passed, discreetly buttoning, down the aisle, and out through the main door into the light. He stood a moment unseeing by the cold black marble bowl, while before him and behind two worshippers dipped furtive hands in the low tide of holy water. Trams, a car of Prescott's dye works, a widow in her weeds. Notice, because I'm in mourning myself. He covered himself. How goes the time? 1:15. Time enough yet. Better get that lotion made up. Where is this? Ah, yes, the last time. Swenny's in Lincoln Place. Chemists rarely move. They're green and gold beacon jars, too heavy to stir. Hamilton Longs found it in the year of the flood. Huguenot churchyard near there. Visit someday. He walked southward along Westland Row, but the recipe is in the other trousers. Oh, and I forgot that latchkey too. There's another latchkey. Bore this funeral affair. Oh well, poor fellow. It's not his fault. When was it I got it made up last? Wait, I changed a sovereign, I remember. 1st of the month it must have been, or the 2nd. He can look it up in the prescriptions book. The chemist turned back page after page. Sandy, shriveled smell he seems to have, shrunken skull, and old. Quest for the philosopher's stone. The alchemists. Drugs age you after mental excitement. Lethargy, then. Why? Reaction. A lifetime in a night. Gradually changes your character. Living all the day among herbs, ointments, disinfectants, all his alabaster lily pots. Mortar and pestle. Aqua distinta fol... I don't know. Mortar and pestle. aqueous, distilled, FOL, LOR, te, virid. Smell almost cure you like the dentist's doorbell. Dr. Whack. He ought to physic himself a bit. Electuary or emulsion. The first fellow that picked an herb to cure himself had a bit of pluck. Simples. Want to be careful. Enough stuff here to chloroform you. Test. Turns blue litmus paper red. Chloroform. Overdose of laudanum. Sleeping droughts. Love filters. Paragonic povythera. Bad for cough. Clogs the pores or the phlegm. Poison's the only cures. Remedy where you least expect it. Clever of nature. About a fortnight ago, sir? Yes, Mr. Bloom said. He waited by the counter, inhaling the keen reek of drugs, the dusty dry smell of sponges and loofahs. Lot of time taken up telling your aches and pains. Sweet almond oil and tincture of benzoin, Mr. Bloom said, and then orange flower water. It certainly did make her skin so delicate white like was. And white wax also, he said. Brings out the darkness of her eyes. Looking at me, the sheet up to her eyes. Shaking. The sheet up to her eyes. Spanish. Smelling herself. When I was fixing the links in my cuffs. Those homely recipes are often the best. Strawberries for the teeth. Nettles and rainwater. Oatmeal, they say, steeped in buttermilk. Skin food. One of the old queen's sons, Duke of Albany, was it? Had only one skin. Leopold, yes. 3 we have. Warts, bunions, and pimples to make it worse. But you want a perfume, too. What perfume does your peau d'Espagne? That orange flower, pure curd soap. Water is so fresh. Nice smell these soaps have. Time to get a bath round the corner. Hammam, Turkish. Massage. Dirt gets rolled up in your navel. Nicer if a girl did it. Also, I think yes, I, do it in the bath. Curious longing I. Water to water. Combine business with pleasure. Pity no time for a massage. Feel fresh then all day. Funeral be rather glum. Yes, sir, the chemist said. That was 2 and 9. Have you brought a bottle? No, Mr. Bloom said. Make it up, please. I'll call later in the day and I'll take one of those soaps. How much are they? 4 pence, sir. Mr. Bloom raised the cake to his nostrils. Sweet lemony wax. I'll take this one, he said. That makes 3 and a penny. Yes, sir, the chemist said. You can pay all together, sir, when you come back. Good, Mr. Bloom said. He strolled out of the shop, the newspaper baton under his armpit, the cool wrappered soap in his left hand. At his armpit, Bantam Lyon's voice and hand said, Hello, Bloom, what's the best news? Is that today's? Show us a minute. Shaved off his mustache again. By Jove! Long, cold upper lip. To look younger. He does look balmy. Younger than I am. Bantam Lyon's yellow black-nailed fingers unrolled the baton. Wants a wash, too. Wait. Take off the rough dirt. Good morning. Have you used Pear's soap or Pier's soap? Dandruff on the shoulders. Scalp wants oiling. I want to see about that French horse that's running today, Bantam Lion said. Where the bugger is it? He rustled the pleated pages, jerking his chin on his high collar. Barber's itch. Tight collar, he'll lose his hair. Better leave him the paper and get shut of him. You can keep it, Mr. Bloom said. A Scott, gold cup. Wait, Bantam Lions muttered. Half a mo. Maximum the second. I was just going to throw it away, Mr. Bloom said. Bantam Lions raised his eyes quite suddenly and leered weakly. What's that? His sharp voice said. I say, you can keep it, Mr. Bloom answered. I was going to throw it away that moment. Bantam Lions doubted an instant, leering, then thrust the outspread sheets back on Mr. Bloom's arms. I'll risk it, he said. Here, thanks. He sped off towards Conway's corner. Godspeed, Scoot. Mr. Bloom folded the sheets again to a neat square, and lodged the soap in it, smiling. Silly lips of that chap. Betting. Regular hotbed of it lately. Messenger boys stealing to put on 6 pence. Raffle for large tender turkey. Your Christmas dinner for 3 pence. Jack Fleming embezzling to gamble, then smuggled off to America. Keeps a hotel now. They never come back. Flesh pots of Egypt. He walked cheerfully towards the Mosque of the Baths. Remind you of a mosque, red-baked bricks, the minarets. College sports today, I see. He eyed the horseshoe poster over the gate of College Park. Cyclists doubled up like a cod in a pot. Damn bad ad. Now, if they had made it round, like a wheel. Then, the spokes, sports, and the hub, big. College, something to catch the eye. There's Hornblower standing at the porter's lodge. Keep him on hands. Might take a turn in there on the nod. How do you do, Mr. Hornblower? How do you do, sir? Heavenly weather, really. If life was always like that. Cricket weather. Sit around under sunshades, over and over. Out. They can't play it here. Duck for 6 wickets. Still, Captain Bullard broke a window in the Kildare Street Club with the slog to square leg. Donnybrook fair more in their line. And the skulls we were a-cracking when McCarthy took the floor. Heat wave. Won't last. Always passing the stream of life, which in the stream of life we trace is dearer than them all. Which in the stream of... Let me read that again. Always passing the stream of life, which in the stream of life we trace is dearer than them all. Enjoy a bath now. Clean trough of water, cool enamel, the gentle tepid stream. This is my body. That's Christ. He foresaw his pale body, reclined in it at full, naked, in a womb of warmth, oiled by scented melting soap, softly washed, whatever. He saw his trunk and limbs rippled over and sustained, buoyed lightly upward. He saw his trunk and limbs rippled over and sustained, buoyed lightly upward, lemon yellow, his navel bud of flesh, and saw the dark tangled curls of his bush floating hair of the stream around the limp father of thousands, a languid, floating flower. Somehow I think he's talking about a dick. The tangled curls of his bush. I mean, isn't that the pubes floating? He's in the bath. He foresaw his pale body reclined in it. Yeah, it's in the bath, full, naked, in a womb of warmth, oiled by scented melting soap, softly laved. He saw his trunk and limbs rippled over and sustained, buoyed lightly upward, lemon yellow. His navel, bud of flesh. Saw the dark tangled curls of his bush floating hair of the stream around the limp father of thousands. That's the penis. The sperm comes out of it. A languid floating flower. That's James Joyce for you. I'm sorry, I'm always falling asleep. I gotta work on, like, changing my diet or something so I have more energy during the day. This is not the book. The book's amazing. But I have been rather low energy lately. Okay.